topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Camping Show. I'm Bwca Cahew. It's Wednesday, July 20th, 82 degrees in my neck of the woods. Tonight's episode of the Camping Show is brought to you by Campground Views, making camping easier. Also, Rutabaga Paddle Sports, providing time on the water. Tonight's episode is Piragis Outfitters Bwca Summer Update 2022 with my special guest, Drew Brockett. What's up, Drew?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going in your neck of the woods?
That's perfect. Wonderful.
Good. You know about a ballpark temperature, about what it's like up there?
Yeah, we might be up to about 80 today, and that's pretty warm up here.
82 degrees. It's breezy, you know, the summer breeze, you can't beat it, and it's not humid, so I'll take it over anything. All right, Chicago native Drew Brockett is the outfitting manager at Piragis Northwoods Company in Ely, Minnesota. In his free time, Drew takes advantage of all the many benefits of the Boundary Waters canoe area has to offer, like fishing, canoeing, camping, and a number of other outdoor adventuring activities. You know, I've just been hearing all summer, Boundary Waters. And I talked to one of my girlfriends last month, and I was, texting her, and she's like, sorry, I can't get any service. I'm in the Boundary Waters or something like that. And I'm like, Boundary Waters, where is that? So I keep hearing it. Now I've got you on, so it's great. So you're definitely going to have to fill me in on all of the details of the Boundary Waters and what it has to offer.
Definitely. I mean, it's amazing. This is canoe country of the world. So no roads, pure wilderness, moose, wolves, black bear, all sorts of stuff, eagles, loons.
Oh, it's definitely an escape.
It's the place to paddle canoes. That's what it is. It's amazing.
So where you're stationed right now, are you located rurally or are you close to town?
Yeah, so we're in Ely. We're an outfitter in Ely, and when we just send people out to all the entry points of the Boundary Waters to start their trips.
Okay, cool. Have the number of bookings been consistent this year compared to, let's say, last year?
Yeah, this is a busy place for canoers. It is a permit monitored place, so it's not like a ton of people can go in every day. There's a limit, but it is busy from the standpoint of the permits are taken quite a bit. It's a very popular, busy place for canoeists who like the wilderness and quiet, solitude.
And so how do you base the limit, and what is the limit of people that can be on the Boundary Waters?
Yeah, so the Forest Service over the years has come up with, to get into the Boundary Waters, there's entry points throughout the wilderness. And each one has a certain amount of permits per day. And it's based on the number of campsites in that area that they've created and that kind of thing. It's really about that. If there's a ton of campsites, they can have more permits. If it's hardly any, they've got to have a low amount.
It all depends. And as far as applying for permits, how soon can you do that to get, an ideal camp spot that you're looking to get?
Yeah, so every year the permits open up on the last Wednesday of January. So the early planners should get in on that. Yeah, that's the best time to get your permit because it opens up, you can get what you want.
Okay.
From then on, it's open all the time continuously. So right now we can get permits for any day the rest of the opening.
Sure. And because you never know, with what cancellations you get, people make plans. Sometimes they fall through. So I'm sure there are plenty of openings then throughout the summer. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
You recently added a new building at Paragus. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So not only we're an outfitter, but we're also a pretty big canoe dealer for Winona and North Star canoes, as well as a bunch of kayaks. And because of that part of the business, we opened up a new building across the street, and it is the canoe barn, the canoe warehouse and the boathouse, we call it. And we have our canoe salesmen over there selling items that are associated with the paddling as well as the canoes and kayaks. So we're pretty excited about it. It's a beautiful building.
Awesome. And more employees, more employment. So it's great for the community.
All right.
And so what type of feedback have you received so far this year from those returning from their trips? And in your experience, if you've been out there this summer, what has it been like?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, I have to jump to last year. Last year we had some fires that created a lot of smoke and some closures and stuff like that. This year, and also a drought last year, so there was low water.
Okay,
Well, this year we started with extremely high water, so there was plenty of water out there, and there's no fires. So it's kind of the opposite. So people are having a great time. If they are trippers every year, they're coming back saying, "Hey, no smoke, and the water's great. We don't have to, walk extra miles because of the portages being dry or something." So it's been great. It's been a great summer overall. They're loving it.
Yeah, the fires are in London right now. I can't believe what's going on with that, but it's just, those hot temperatures and the drought is definitely what contributes to things like that. So it's great, and I think, we were talking about booking comparisons and things like that. And I think this year especially, it's been a little bit more open as far as things to do, kind of grasping our way out of the pandemic, if you will. So it's like, I think people have been more comfortable to start getting out there and doing things again.
Agreed. During the COVID situation last 2.5 years now, the outdoors was a big place for everybody to go with the fresh air and space and stuff like that. And it has continued. Yeah. So the last 2 years, this year, it's a place to come and, get away from everything else in the crowds.
Yeah. And, I think we can give credit to the pandemic in that sense, where it's just kind of opened everybody's eyes, and, we've kind of figured out the places that we can go to, which is, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, no civilization. And, it just kind of opens up your mind to what really matters and things like that. So how does the permit system work for booking a trip to Bwca?
Yeah, so again, the permits are, every entry point has a certain amount of permits per day. For a permit, you have to know the date and which entry point, and then you have to have a leader with all their information. And in the boundary waters, you can only have a permit that's up to 9 people and 4 canoes or 4 watercraft.
Okay.
So there is a limit. Now you can have 2 people in 1 boat, of course, but anything lower than that. So there's a limit to that. So there's a lot of rules that go along with the permits. So.
And I know you mentioned you have to have a leader. So is that a leader within your group, or do you have to have, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So what I mean is, when you have a permit, somebody grabs the permit. They have it, like it'd be under your name, Bwca.
Sure. Okay.
Your address and all that. You have to have the permit leader and maybe an alternate leader. They're the only ones who can sign a permit. So I won't get too detailed about the signing of the permit, but it's important to have the correct people who are going to be coming for sure, because they need to sign the permit. So there's some details in there that are important, but that's what I mean by that. There's going to be we call it a group leader who signs the permit.
Gotcha. All right, everybody, stick around for more of the camping show. We will be right back after this on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV after these messages. Stick around.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sites, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
how long have you guys been selling boats? Darren replied, well, we don't sell boats. We sell time on the water. Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Bwca outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Bwca's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Bwca Paddle Sports, on the web at bwca.com. Mention you saw this ad on The Camping Show.
And we're back to the Camping Show on Talk 4 TV and WC4Y Radio. Chris, Drew, tell me, are there any restrictions that have been implemented or lifted in the BWCA since last year?
Yeah, at this point, no. Well, let me change that. Last year, they were forcing you at the latter half of the season to hang your food. They made it mandatory. That got dropped over the winter, and now you don't have to do that. It's still recommended because of the black bears, but they have not no major restrictions right now. Obviously, follow the rules of the boundary waters, but no restrictions from that kind of a standpoint.
Sure. And so as far as like location for what are some of the prime spots around the boundary waters for camping, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have their favorite place. There's so many places. And that's one of the reasons people come back. There's so many entry points. They want to hit a lot of them and try different routes.
Okay.
So it's not just going to like the same, campground every year.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that, but you know what I mean?
Sure.
This, you can really change it up and just go to different places all the time. So everybody has their favorite places. It's hard to really tell you a real specific. I mean, I have my favorite places, certain entry points. Some are easier, some are harder. There's a whole mix to get to fit the right trip in for the
Sure. Just depends what you're doing, what you plan on doing, and your situation, and all those things. So, as far as somebody that's never gone to the boundary waters, let's say for me, for example, what would you say would be? Are there any you said that there are sites that are harder to get into or easier? What would you recommend for a first timer?
Yeah, I would definitely work with an outfitter. That's what we do at Paragus. We talk to people all year, all winter about their trip, and for first timers, they're not going to know what they see the list of permits, and they're not going to know what that is. So we can talk to them about the route, and you really want to get some expert advice about where to go. Otherwise, you might choose the wrong route, and we can help you with the perfect route for your first time. So you're not going to kill yourself, you're going to enjoy yourself, that kind of thing. So definitely get some expert advice to start the process.
And what are some major differences with camping along the boundary waters versus just your typical out in the woods camping?
Well, it's spread out. That's one thing. I mean, the boundary waters is quite spread out. There are designated campsites in the boundary waters put out by the Forest Services there, or they've made them, and they're on the map. So when you're using the map, but there's a latrine back in the woods of every campsite. There's also a fire grate at every campsite, and those are the places you have to stay and camp. But the main thing is just more of the solitude and quiet, and we have the night sky here is incredibly dark, so it's just a great place to see the sky at night. It's the quiet and stuff like that compared to maybe places that are near roads or something. I mean, you can paddle out and be many miles from anybody and cars and noise, so it's amazing.
Definitely. And so you have to be prepared for emergencies, if you can't get to certain places and you're out too deep into, the area where you're at. So that's definitely a lot of preparation that you might have to do for a specific spot.
Very much so. Yeah.
And let's talk about the options of hiring a guide for a trip. I know you mentioned the outfitters. What type of services do a guide provide? And also, what should you not expect your guide to do?
Yeah, I mean, a guide is a great way. A lot of people who are new do hire a guide because they can learn a ton of stuff, whether it be cooking, camping, following the rules of the boundary waters, in navigation, paddling strokes, all that stuff. It's a great way to learn. And you can do it for the first time and then start doing it yourself. Or we have people who come back every year and hire a guide because they just enjoy that. So the guide will do a ton of stuff and kind of take control of everything, the safety issues, the cooking and cleaning. However, you should not expect the guide to just do every single thing. It should be a hands-on experience for everybody. Yeah. You should not just sit in your chair and let that guide just do every single thing. You really want to be a part of this experience. So that's the main thing. Don't let the guide just do everything. You sit in a chair.
Yeah, it's not a camping butler. It's
right.
It's a guide.
Yep.
Keyword guide. So
yes,
definitely. And I have to go back to my girlfriend's experience because she said she was in the Boundary Waters, and so she does my hair. So I went to her salon. And so I asked her, tell me about your experience. She goes, oh my God, it's a beautiful place, but it was terrible for us because we were not prepared. And she went into detail about the many ways that she was washing my hair. And I'm thinking like, wow, she should have gotten an outfitter. And people don't think about those things. They think, okay, it's just camping, just a different place. I know what to do. I know what to bring. A lot of people bring their dehydrated foods, all of those things. They think they're prepared. And then, something happens and they're not prepared and they don't know what to do. And they have to go back into town for things and stuff like that. So there are benefits to having an outfitter. And I've never had one, but I know that if I was going to the backwaters, I would definitely. There would just be no way for a girl like me, Drew.
Yeah, it's just a great way to learn, like I said, and you can't just there's not a store around the corner. You need to bring everything. You need to watch the weight because you have to carry everything. Yeah, the prepared is a big deal, and it's the first time and every other time technically you learn a ton, and you just keep learning all the time, and you learn that you don't need that, but you need something else. So you learn a lot. And it's a great way to just start with a guide or at least working with an outfitter. So there's some correlation between, going camping and that people do in a car and stuff. However, this is a different animal up here with all the portages, carrying everything from lake to lake to lake, stuff like that. There's a lot of work involved. This is definitely not jumping in a river and letting the canoe just flow down the river. I mean, you're paddling. You have to move the boat yourself. And carry everything and stuff. So it's a lot of work, but it's very, very satisfying.
Yeah, and it's a guide for a reason. They're there for a reason because you just never know. And as far as the guides, how much does it cost? And what specifically? I know we talked about the things that guides don't do. What will the guide do for you, and what are those main benefits?
Yeah, I mean the main thing is just to teach people the right thing to do up here in this wilderness. It's a very special wilderness. But again, all those tricks, whether it be fishing, setting up camp, cooking, cleaning, canoe paddling, strokes, and carrying the canoe, how to carry that. A lot of people have trouble with that. So there's just so much they can help with. Again, we send guides out all the time. So that tells you that people want them. I do think the majority of people don't take a guide overall in terms of the number of everybody who goes to the Boundary Waters. But overall, there's still a nice amount of people who take guides, and they're learning a ton, and then you can do it yourself in the future.
How many guides do you have?
It's kind of a mix. We have a handful for ourselves here at Paragus, but we also have a whole bunch we can reach out to who are, I guess you'd call them like independent contractors who just can work for anybody. There's like kind of regular guides up here. So there's a bunch, so we have a handful we really like to use.
Specifically, how would you accommodate someone that doesn't own any equipment, has no paddling experience, that wants to book a canoe trip, the backwaters?
Yeah, so that's where the guide would come into play, so that you can really learn. But we can supply everything. We call it a full outfitting trip, where we supply all the food. Most of the gear, so it makes it super easy for people. Yeah. So we have people coming from all over the world, and in fact, we have 2 people right now who are out back from Belgium, and they're going through a full outfitting. They're using all our food and our gear, and so you can really get set up here. You only have to bring a few things to make it easy for yourself.
Hmm.
And then you've got all the good gear, and you don't have to worry about it, that kind of thing. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Like an all-inclusive.
Yes, you can go full outfitting or partial. If you have stuff and you just need a few things, great. For us, we'll just do whatever you need.
I know this is probably not a big deal when it comes to camping, but you mentioned food. You want to elaborate?
Sure. So, we don't just send you out with full-on dehydrated stuff. However, we do a mix. We have a menu on our website. You get to choose what you want for the trip, and it's a mix. It can be fresh stuff and some dehydrated, depending on how long your trip is, as well as how much you actually want to cook. Obviously the fresh stuff and whatever might take longer and more dishes and stuff like that. Some people don't want to do that, so they want to have some dehydrated. So it's a whole mix in terms of what you can choose. We understand people want fresh stuff. Great, we'll offer it to you. So, some people just have their favorites and want to do that kind of thing, or make it super, super easy and just boil water. So
And protein powder, water and protein powder.
Yeah.
All right, more of the camping show in just a little bit. We're going to take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Stick around after these messages.
It is time to go camping. Introducing Campground View's virtual tours. You can tour the campground, see the sights, see if they are available, and click to book your perfect spot. Hit the open road and explore the amazing places found in nature. We make it easy to discover, find, and book your site so that you can go have the fun and freedom you seek. Campground View's virtual tours make it easy and simple for you to see where you are going.
A few years ago, someone asked Rutabaga's owner, Darren Bush, "Hey, how long have you guys been selling boats?" Darren replied, "We don't sell boats. We sell time on the water." Of course, that comes in all types. We help people paddle more safely with Rutabaga outdoor programs. We rent canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddleboards. We sell and install racks to get you from home to adventure. Rutobaga's got everything you need to get you out on the water, like paddles, life jackets, dry bags, and clothing. Rutabaga Paddle Sports, on the web at rutabaga.com. Mention you saw this ad on the camping show.
And we're back on the camping show with my very special guest, Drew Brockett. All right, Juan, let's have you put up Drew's photos and we'll have him tell us about each of them. This is my favorite part. I love visuals. Oh my goodness, that is gorgeous.
So, it's just the pristine boundary waters. I mean, it's the super fresh water, and just look at that beauty. I mean, it's just incredible. And like they say, it's the canoe capital of the world. This is the place to paddle canoes and camp in a wilderness.
That's awesome.
And just
can we go back to the first picture? Does that little island right there sitting there, does that have a name?
No, well, maybe, but that's just some sort of little island. There's so many islands out there, Bianca, I couldn't even tell you.
That's awesome. It reminds me actually of a very similar view we have back at home at Starved Rock State Park. It's called Lover's Leap, and it's very high, just as that picture is, and you're just looking over the Illinois River. So it kind of reminds me of that, but not the big old island right in the middle. That's gorgeous.
And this is just a group that we sent out, and you can see the tarp set up. People have fun setting up tarps and setting up camp, really technical like this. This particular one is one of our trips that has one of your guests you have quite a bit. Cliff Jacobson is the guy sitting right in the middle, and he's one of your guests you have, and he does a trip for us every year when he's able to. But anyway, that's just one way to set up tarps out there, and a typical campsite there, with some logs around a fire and granite rock, and it's just amazing. So
that's awesome. And that's quite the tent too.
Yeah, that was a tarp setup that was pretty special there.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah,
this is technically from last year, this particular shot, but it was part
yeah.
of the fires we had. You can see. I mean,
Wow.
it's something that's you got to watch it. You know.
How long did the fires last? I know we didn't get into that. If we could keep that photo up, Juan. What was the extent of the damage and how long did the blaze last?
Yeah, so this fire, I'm not going to quite remember how long it was, but it was a while. This was just outside the Boundary waters to the south, and it shut down some roads, and then eventually, because we had so much south wind for some reason, it blew into the Boundary waters in terms of the smoke, and it caused a lot of problems for people breathing in a sense.
Yeah,
it was
definitely.
uncomfortable. But it was definitely over a month, and lots of activity down southeast of Ely, and obviously pretty crazy. You can drive right by through it, where it crossed the road right now this year, and see how what happened. It's
Wow.
pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
and it did, just the visibility, I'm sure, where the roads are from, just outside of those woods, I'm sure were very dangerous. And
Mhm.
it's just phenomenal the effects of wildfires and what they can do with our climate. I'm not sure if remember it was last year or the year before that, but the wildfires down in Canada and California, we had here in Illinois overcast skies for days just because of the smoke. So it's definitely it's interesting what it can do to the climate.
Definitely, yeah. And the smoke can travel a long way, like you said. So
Yeah. It's phenomenal. There are several outfitters, excuse me, there in Ely. Why choose Paragus Outfitters? This is the question. What does Paragus Outfitters do that stands out above and beyond all the competing outfitters?
yeah, well, honestly, one of the reasons is we love what we do here. We are passionate about this place, protecting it as well as just getting people out there to paddle. But so you know, customer service is a big deal. We are there for you the whole time. We're also extremely well known for our gear. We have top notch gear. It's brand new all the time, so you're getting new stuff. You don't have to worry about it. For instance, our whole fleet of canoes is new every season. No other outfitter does that. So
Wow.
it's the gear and the people you work with. You can just talk to me anytime. Give me a call and I'll talk to you. So, but we're on email and talking to people all the time, getting them ready. We're very detailed oriented, so we take care of that too.
Great. So, is canoes the only watercraft you can rent out, or what are some other options if you have any?
Yeah, we do rent some kayaks, and we do rent paddle boards.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of times people, there's a lot of cabins around here outside the boundary waters on lakes. So people will just rent things like that too and bring them to their cabins.
Gotcha.
Um, Kayaks aren't ideal in the boundary waters. There are people who do it, but they're a little harder to pack as well as portage. So that's why it is called the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. Canoes make more sense, but we do
Yes.
rent other things besides gear and the canoes, and there are some paddle boards and or kayaks.
So the paddle boards, um, how would you use that on the boundary waters?
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. It's I guess they might bring it along so they can have it around camp, that kind of thing.
Sure.
However, because paddleboards have gotten so popular over the
Yeah.
last 5 years or whatever it is,
Yeah.
there have actually been people who do a canoe trip on a canoe trip
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
board, and they'll put their gear on there, and you can see a documented video about that. People who have actually done a boundary waters trip on a paddleboard.
That's crazy. Just to say they did it. I was just to
Yeah.
say, here, look at me, I'm different.
Yes, it's definitely a different way to do it.
All right, we're gonna cue back to those photos. Juan says we have a couple more to show. Oh, that's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
I mean, just look at the beauty. It's incredible, and it's all most of the lakes are silent, meaning no motorboats. There's a few motorboat lakes out there, but there's a million acres of just quiet, and you're just moving yourself. It's just incredible. Look at the beauty.
Wow. Beautiful overcast day.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat it.
Everybody should experience it. That's for sure. I mean, that's the fire grade at every campsite.
Wow, that's a beautiful setup. I love the use of the rocks. That's really
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, that grate is kind of buried in the rock, so to speak, and that's where you can have your fire. If you cook on a fire, that's where you'll cook. Obviously, you can bring camp stoves with as well, but just you're going to be overlooking the water, and it's just what a great way to experience the evening and hang around the fire and look just look out of the water and watch the loons or beavers swim by or something. It's amazing. It's just an
Wow.
incredible place.
Well, what are the more common animals that you'll see out along the water?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to see almost everybody will probably see a loon, which is obviously a fun bird. Beavers can be seen quite often. You get lucky if you see a wolf or a moose, a black bear. Hopefully you don't see it in camp, but they're out there. Bald eagles, otters, they're out there. So those are some of the main ones. That's another thing. It's just a special place up here in northern Minnesota. We have that kind of variety of animals.
Yeah.
Kind of a typical campsite back there in the woods, just off of some granite rock, and you kind of spread out in there. And if you can see that down in the middle section there.
Really nice. And it's so secluded. So as far as access to these campsites, so is there like a main center when you go to the BWCA? Is there a main center in Piragis Outfitters that you would go to, and then do you hike to your campsite? Do you drive to your campsite, or does it depend based off of how far it is? What does that look like?
Well, the campsites are certainly you got to paddle there, and you got to get to the you got to paddle there with the canoe. So you're going to drive to the entry point, and then you start walking and portaging and paddling back and forth to that. And depending on where you are, each campsite or each lake has a certain amount of campsites.
Okay.
It could be 1, it could be 10, 20. It just depends on the site, but
sure.
Really lake.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's great. That happens to be me. Just cooking up some walleye underneath the tarp there. I usually do my trips with my uncle, and we like to just hang out and cook some fish and have some good meals under a tarp and just enjoy the evening. And,
nice. And is that a stick holding up the tarp in the middle?
Yeah, I've got the tarp, tied up on the corners, but then to keep that middle up, I found a nice stick to just kind of hang it up a bit.
Neat.
So I can sit there.
That's a true outdoorsman.
Exactly. So again, you can just see you have to bring everything. So you need to have everything organized and be prepared. So you can see we got all sorts of packs there: a food pack, a gear pack, and you just have to be ready for everything. That's why going with an outfitter, or at least looking at their gear list, is a huge deal. Like, we have a gear list on our website, which helps a lot of people plan a trip so they know what they need to bring, or at least don't forget your headlamp, because you didn't have it on a list. We
That's
have mirrors,
awesome.
obviously.
Lots of free, valuable resources on your website, it sounds like.
Correct. Yes.
Beautiful.
That just happens to be through that fire at the end of last year.
Yeah, I do see the trees on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it jumped over this is when they reopened the road, and went down last fall to check it out. So it'll be interesting to watch the forest regenerate itself.
Yeah, sometimes the forest needs fires. It just gives it that something in the ash that makes trees develop and grow new. It's wild, beautiful.
Yep. They say fire makes a healthy forest. It is part of the forest, so we happen to have them here and there.
Yeah.
Well, this is just another incredible view.
Yeah, great view.
Another lake. Some campsites are right next to the water. Some are up above. This one happens to be above the water. You have to kind of climb up a little path. And just a beautiful view. This happens to be a lake called Possum Lake. And you can't beat it. You can just relax, Sometimes the bugs are out. You got to watch that. Be prepared. But just can you imagine just sitting there in a little lightweight camp chair and just relaxing with a cup of hot chocolate or something? These
certain viewpoints that are photographed here, are there trails that you can go along to see this, or is just very this, for instance, this one happens to be
like this campsite is up above the water quite a bit, and you see that you can pull the canoe into a place where most people pull it in, then you walk a path and carry all your stuff up to the campsite.
Okay.
So again, every campsite's a little different, whether it be really close to where you put the canoe or you have to walk a little bit. You never have to walk forever, nothing like that. But sometimes you have to carry your stuff at the campsite, 20 yards, a little longer than that too. But
Okay.
Well, that's Paragus Northwoods right there. That's where I work.
Wow.
That's the building. We have a big retail store, very popular place in town to come here and get your last minute shopping or books or anything. We have an online catalog as part of this called the BoundaryWatersCatalog.com. Also, there's a restaurant associated with us, right in the middle there. It's called the Chocolate Moose.
Oh,
So kind of a fun name with really good food there. So
very nice.
yeah.
What's your favorite thing to eat there?
Yeah, I like burgers.
Yeah.
And they make nice burgers there. So
After a weekend of camping, a nice burger sounds like the perfect thing.
oh yeah, as much as you like being out in the woods and stuff, when you come back, there's something about getting a plated burger or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, something hearty.
That's right. That's happens to be one of our catalog covers called, again, the Boundary Waters catalog, and that happens to be Steve Paragus, the owner of the company.
Wow.
He was out catching lake trout one day, and there you go. So
Okay, that's really big.
yeah, that looks like a good one.
Yeah, it almost looked like a bass, and I'm no connoisseur of fish, but it looks pretty big to me.
Yeah, that looks like a nice one, that's for sure. So a lot of people fish up here, as you can imagine. It's great fishing.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That walleye, oh my goodness. I'm not too big on fish. I'm just kind of like a salmon person. I actually had salmon earlier today, but walleye, oh my goodness, and cod. Cod is amazing.
Oh, cod's great. I like it too, yeah.
I believe that was the last photo. Drew, what advice would you offer those still thinking about doing a trip to the BWCA this summer? So there's still some time left. What do you say?
Yeah, it's really about sooner the better. Permits are going. You need an overnight camping permit for the Boundary Waters that you pay for through September 30th. So if you're going to do that, you need to do it sooner than later. As again, they're getting tight. After October 1st, you don't need to have a reserved permit. It's all self-issue and it's free. You still follow the rules and all that. However, now you're getting into where we start to turn our weather. It could snow, it could be 70. You have to be ready for anything in October, and we start to freeze up in later October. So,
and why do you make that cut in October to then make it free?
That's where the Forest Service just has designated it. The Boundary Waters paying permits are May 1 through September 30th.
Gotcha.
And that's just what it is, kind of the main canoeing season. And then October 1st through April 30th, I guess, that would be, it's again free, because there are people who go out there in the wintertime and they snowshoe and cross-country ski, and there's dog sledding companies. And so there's a lot to do even in the winter.
Sure. But it's kind of like a at your own risk type
Definitely.
of thing.
Yeah, and it can be cold up here. I'll tell you that, really cold.
So let's talk about, I know you said it can be cold. What other conditions can you experience from season to season? So we are coming towards the end of July. So let's say somebody wants to make a trip in August, maybe September. Is it going to be buggy? Is that the time where the bugs start to kind of go away? What is that going to look like?
Yeah, so the bugs have been pretty bad this year because of all the water. And the bug season kind of starts to calm down a little bit, I should say, usually, as we get later into August. And then as you get into September, it's even better for bugs, meaning no bugs or less bugs.
Less, okay.
So, but then you get into the seasons. Like now we're going to be in our hottest time coming up here in early August, where people like to go jump in the lake. It's as warm as it gets up here. We never get warm water, but it helps with all the heat we've had. And then, you have the beautiful fall colors that happen in mid to late September and early October. and the colors up here are amazing. Just to be out in a canoe and camp out there in that kind of weather.
Yeah.
So you get the bug season, and then you get the colors and no bugs. It's all over the place up here, but there are, the first half of the season is the buggier time.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, it's still buggy here. And I know towards the end of the summer, it's like the gnats get angry. It's like their time to die. So they start biting everything and anything. And so when I go out there towards the end of the summer, it's like, okay, I know that's the end of the summer because the gnats just start to get really angry and mad about life. So I'm just like, I don't like to go out during that time, but my fiance and I, we would do, and we haven't done it this year because we'll be getting married this year, but we love to do an annual Colorado trip. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with places in Colorado or camping sites, but we would camp somewhere in Lyons, Colorado. So that's right outside of, I believe that would be going into Estes Park. But we would go during around this time, I'd say about the first week of August. And so it's gorgeous, less bugs. It's still hot, very dry, but obviously if you go up into the mountains, which I've learned very quickly that there's snow and the climate changes, and I did not know that. So I brought all of this stuff like hiking shorts and these tank tops and sports bras, and come to find out, and my fiance is giving me the shirt off his back and all the clothes, and it's cold up there. So like you said, you got to go out there and experience it. And I think that first timers, what they can take from this is that don't knock it. It can be daunting, and especially when you talk about recommending a guide, you think, well, if I need a guide, this must be crazy. Well, you're gonna live and learn, and you're gonna find a better plan for next time, and you're just gonna gain that experience. And it's definitely worth it, I would say.
Yeah, you just said the word experience. Big thing. We have people who've been here for 40 trips, and then you have your first timers. Well, you just get experience. You start to learn how to do it, what to bring, how to travel, how to be safe, and be prepared. And it's about experience up here, but also having a great experience.
Yeah.
Up here, watching the sunset and watch the sunrise, it's amazing.
Definitely. And I think, you talk about what your guides have to offer, and what they would do specifically for the campers. And I think that there's specific roles and things like that, but also making sure that the campers have a good time is very important. And I think that it's very pivotal with your first time and a couple of times, and just depending on where you go in the backwaters, to have a guide, because you want it to be worth it. You're going out there and you want to have a good experience, and that's what a guide can offer. So I know that if I were going out there and I had a guide, I'd be pretty confident I would have a good time, and I'm not going to lose my head out there. I'm not going to be stranded because I have somebody at least who knows what they're doing.
Agreed. They're going to make sure you have a great time, as well as doing all the other things we talked about, but they're going to make sure you have a good time. And even we also want to get the kids up here, so we get families with younger kids. We got to get the kids going to get enjoying the wilderness and get off their phones and stuff. And so they make sure the kids have a good time. And you pick the route that the kids will be okay on. So we got to get kids into the wilderness, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Boundary waters or anywhere.
Are there any programs that Paragus Outfitters has for the kids? Anything specific that would be appealing to families in those regards?
We don't have any specific things that we do. However, we definitely just promote, bring your family up here, bring your kids up here. We can find the correct camp or Boundary Waters route for you. So, we want to get them hands-on and just see what it's all about up here.
Yeah. Pass down the knowledge, pass down the experience, because it just seems like this generation is just all about the screens.
Yes.
And so it's I'm a big stickler about, like, if I ever had kids, and I say that so I don't have kids, so I don't know, so don't listen to me, but I think things like that are important, and it builds good character for the kids, and that's what's important. They have a good experience with that.
Agreed. Yeah, they, we had so many kids coming back. They just had such a ball, whether they caught their first fish or at least their biggest fish, and
Yeah.
they'll just, hey, we saw a beaver go by our campsite and they slap its tail. I mean, it's just things like that that really get them going, and they just want to come back. So,
And you know what? And I think that sometimes surprises parents because they're day to day. You don't think that the kids want to do something like that. They've got their school, they've got their screen time, they've got their games, their Fortnite, their Minecraft, and things like that. But then you get them out there and they're having a good time. And I remember this kind of happened with my best friend. She took her kids down to where I live. She's from Bridgeport in Chicago. She lives right by the White Sox Stadium, and she brought her kids down here. Starved Rock State Park. We have a couple state parks: Buffalo Rock in Ottawa, Starved Rock State Park, and Matheson State Park. So we've got beautiful waterfalls, beautiful canyons, all coming off of water from the Vermilion River, the Illinois River. It's absolutely gorgeous. So it's a great place. So she brought the kids, and being from Chicago and being from the city, and you just should have seen their faces. It's just awesome to see the kids, just the smiles on their faces. And I'll tell you, AJ was my best friend's son. He was just loving just being in the grass and being just around and being in the outdoors, and he was just rolling around, being a 7-year-old boy. And it's good to see. They get it out of their system.
that's great. That sounds like a good thing. And same thing, just get them out in the woods, get them away from the TV and whatever, and just they're going to find out there's so much more to the world.
So
in the wilderness.
Yeah, great escape. Drew, last question. Have you been out on the Boundary Waters yet yourself, just to do a little solo camping trip or something at your leisure, not where you're actually working?
Yeah, I try to get out. A little tough. I have a lot to do here for my job, but I absolutely get out. I've been paddling a bunch this year. I haven't done an overnighter yet, but that's okay. That'll come when I get some more time. But getting out there just even for a day trip is so fun. Getting up at dawn and going. So I'm out there, and I've traveled all over the place to help you with routing and stuff like that.
Nice.
So yeah, I love it.
Take advantage of it. That's awesome. You still got plenty of time. Drew, where can our viewers and listeners go to follow Piragis Outfitters and, most importantly, book a trip to the BWCA?
Yeah, so you can go to Paragus.com. There you go. It's on there. Perfect. We have
Thanks, Juan.
Tons of information about canoe tripping, the Boundary Waters, all sorts of stuff. And then we also, from that website, have our link to our Boundary Waters catalog. So in case you need some gear, we will ship it around the country. So that kind of thing. So take a look. We have a ton of stuff. It's a lot of fun. People love our website. They just say, we came to you because we like what you have there. So check it out. It's a fun website to get involved with.
Yeah, definitely. CW and I we were trying to plan a Boundary Waters, and we can't do it this year, unfortunately, but we're definitely going to do something next year. So we will have to steal you maybe for a day and hang out and maybe do a live broadcast or something like that.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Drew, for being my guest on the camping show. It was a pleasure. You were awesome. I learned so much, and I feel ready to do something like that myself next year. I'd also like to thank our sponsors for bringing you tonight's show, Campground Views, and also Rutabaga Paddle Sports. Be sure to tune in for next week's broadcast from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Lady Climbers rock Brazil with special guest Maya Murzoki. Until then, thank you for tuning into the camping show. I'm Bwca KQ, reminding you, learn more, do more. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.